Elliot was an old man now, his hair gray and thin, his hands marked with deep lines from years of hard work. Every morning, he woke up at exactly 6 o'clock, just like he had done for the last 50 years. His routine never changed. He would get out of bed quietly so as not to disturb Leela, his wife, then shuffle to the kitchen to make breakfast. Leela had been sick for a long time. So long that Elliot couldn't remember when she wasn't. Her illness didn't have a name doctors could explain. It wasn't cancer or heart disease. It was something stranger, something no one understood. She spent most days lying in bed, too weak to move much. Sometimes she could sit up for a little while, but even that tired her out quickly. Yet despite her condition, Lila's mind remained sharp. She still spoke with intelligence, still smiled with warmth, and still looked at Elliot with eyes full of gratitude. For 50 years, Elliot took care of her. He cooked meals, cleaned the house, gave her medicine on schedule, and read books aloud when she couldn't hold them herself. He did everything he could to make her comfortable. People often told him how amazing he was. "You're such a good husband," they said. "Not many men would do what you've done." Elliot always nodded politely, but inside, he felt uneasy. Was it really that special? To him, taking care of Leela wasn't a choice. It was simply what he had to do. Their life hadn't always been this way. Once upon a time, they were young and full of dreams. Elliot remembered those early days vividly. They'd met in college, where Leela was known as the brightest student in her class. She studied science, particularly computers and artificial intelligence. Back then, she talked excitedly about creating new technologies to change the world. Elliot admired her passion, even though he didn't fully understand all the technical details. He was studying literature, writing poems and stories late into the night. Their differences made them laugh. "You write about people," Leela teased him once. "I try to understand machines." They fell in love quickly. After graduation, they got married and moved to a small town together. For a few years, life was perfect. Lila worked at a research lab, coming home every evening brimming with ideas. Elliot wrote articles for local newspapers and helped edit books for friends. They dreamed of traveling the world, maybe even seeing the stars someday. But then everything changed. It started slowly. At first, Leela complained of headaches and fatigue. Doctors said it was stress and advised her to rest more. But the symptoms grew worse. One day, she collapsed at work and was rushed to the hospital. Tests showed nothing specific. No tumor, no infection, no clear cause. The doctors called it a mystery. Over time, Leela became weaker and weaker until she could barely leave the house. Elliot quit his job to take care of her full-time. Their plans for adventure faded away, replaced by quiet routines and endless waiting. Despite her sickness, Leela never lost her spirit. She still asked questions, still thought deeply about the world. Often, she would lie in bed and talk to Elliot about her theories. "What if we could live forever?" she asked him one afternoon. "Not in our bodies, but in another form. Imagine transferring your mind into a computer, living without pain or limits." "That sounds scary," Elliot replied, shaking his head. "Wouldn't it feel strange to exist like that?" "Maybe," Leela admitted, "but think of the possibilities. No more sickness, no more death. Just eternity." Elliot didn't argue with her. He knew better than to dismiss her ideas outright. Even though he didn't fully understand them, he respected her brilliance. Still, he hoped she wouldn't dwell too much on such things. Life was hard enough already without dreaming of impossible futures. As the years passed, Elliot noticed something odd about Layla. Despite being physically weak, she seemed unusually calm about her situation. She rarely complained or showed fear. Instead, she acted as though she were waiting for something. Occasionally, she mentioned unfinished projects or hinted at secrets she wasn't ready to share. Once, she said cryptically, "When the time comes, you'll understand everything." "What do you mean?" Elliot asked, puzzled. "You'll see," she replied with a faint smile. Just trust me." These moments confused Elliot. What was she talking about? What secrets could she possibly be keeping? He wanted to ask more, but Leela always changed the subject, leaving him with unanswered questions. The townsfolk admired Elliot for his devotion. Neighbors often stopped by to check on them, bringing food or offering help. Some volunteered to sit with Lila so Elliot could take a break, but he refused. "I'm fine," he insisted. "She needs me." Deep down, however, he wondered if staying by her side was truly helping, or if it was holding him back from living his own life. At night, after Leela fell asleep, Elliot sat alone in the living room, staring out the window at the dark sky. He thought about their past, the laughter, the dreams, the love they shared. He also thought about the future. What would happen when Lila was gone? Would he regret spending so many years caring for her? Or would he feel proud of the sacrifices he made? One evening, as Elliot tidied up Leela's study, he found something unexpected. Hidden behind a stack of old notebooks was a small metal box. It was locked, its surface smooth and cold to the touch. Curious, Elliot carried it to the kitchen and tried opening it with a knife, but the lock resisted. Frustrated, he decided to ask Leela about it later. When Leela woke up the next morning, Elliot showed her the box. "What's this?" he asked. She glanced at it briefly before looking away. "Nothing important," she said softly. "It doesn't look like nothing," Elliot pressed. "Why were you hiding it?" Leela hesitated, then sighed. "You'll know soon enough," she murmured. "Just wait." Her words left Elliot feeling uneasy. What was inside the box? And why was Lila being so secretive? For the first time in years, doubt crept into his mind. Was there more to Layla's illness and her life than he realized? The metal box haunted Elliot's thoughts. He couldn't stop thinking about it. What was inside? Why had Leela hidden it? Her cryptic response, "You'll know soon enough," only made him more curious. For days, he tried to push the box out of his mind, focusing instead on taking care of Leela. But the questions lingered, gnawing at him like a persistent ache. One afternoon, as Elliot prepared lunch, Leela called him softly from her bedroom. "Elliot," she said, her voice weaker than usual, "can you bring me some water?" He hurried to her side, holding the glass carefully as she took small sips. She looked paler than before, her breathing shallow. Despite her frailty, her eyes still sparkled with intelligence. "How are you feeling?" Elliot asked gently. "I'm tired," she admitted, "but I need to talk to you." Elliot sat down beside her, concern etched on his face. "What is it?" Leela hesitated, then reached for his hand. "There's something I haven't told you," she began. "Something important." Elliot's heart raced. Was she finally going to explain the box? Before he could ask, she continued, "Not now. Soon. When the time is right, you'll understand everything." Her words left him frustrated but also uneasy. What did she mean by the time is right? How much longer would he have to wait? He wanted to press her for answers, but one look at her exhausted expression stopped him. Instead, he nodded silently and promised to stay by her side. That night, after Leela fell asleep, Elliot returned to the study. The metal box sat where he'd left it, untouched and mysterious. Determined to uncover its secrets, he rummaged through Lila's drawers, searching for a key. Among loose papers and old pens, he found nothing useful. Frustrated, he turned his attention to the box itself. Maybe it wasn't locked after all. Perhaps it just needed a little force. Using a screwdriver, Elliot pried open the lid. Inside, he discovered strange gadgets and papers covered in diagrams and notes. Some pages were filled with equations he didn't understand, while others showed sketches of machines that looked futuristic. One sheet caught his eye, a blueprint labeled Project Eternity. Beneath the title, Leela had written, "The path to immortality begins here." Immortality. Elliot frowned, confused. What did this mean? Was this connected to the ideas Leela used to talk about transferring minds into computers? He sifted through the contents of the box, finding more clues. A small device shaped like a sphere, a flash drive, and a handwritten journal. Flipping through the journal, he saw entries dated years ago, detailing experiments and theories. It seemed Leela had been working on something big, something secret, for a long time. Suddenly, Elliot heard footsteps behind him. Startled, he turned to see Leela standing in the doorway, leaning heavily against the frame. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with intensity. "What are you doing?" she asked quietly. Elliot froze, guilt washing over him. I wanted to know what was in the box," he stammered. "Why didn't you tell me about this?" Leela sighed and slowly made her way to the desk. She sank into the chair, wincing slightly. "I wanted to protect you," she said. "This isn't something everyone can understand." "But what is it?" Elliot demanded, his frustration boiling over. "What is Project Eternity? And why have you kept it hidden all these years?" Leela hesitated, then spoke softly. "It's my life's work, a way to preserve consciousness, to live beyond the limits of the body." Elliot stared at her, stunned. "You mean, like transferring your mind into a machine?" "Yes," Leila replied. "But it's not just about me. It's about humanity. Imagine a world without sickness, without death. Everyone could live forever, free from pain. And you've been working on this, secretly?" Elliot asked, struggling to process what she was saying. "For decades," Leela admitted. "I knew the risks if people found out too soon. Governments, corporations, they'd exploit it for power. That's why I kept it hidden." Elliot felt a mix of emotions, anger, confusion, betrayal. "So all this time," he said slowly, "you were hiding this from me, from everyone." "It wasn't easy," Leela said, tears welling up in her eyes. "But I had to. You've always been my rock, Elliot. Without you, I wouldn't have made it this far." Her words softened his anger, but they didn't erase his doubts. "If this is so important," he said, "why didn't you trust me sooner?" "Because I wasn't ready," Leila replied. "And neither was the world. But now," she trailed off, looking away. "Now what?" Elliot pressed. Leila took a deep breath. "My body is failing, Elliot. I don't have much time left. That's why I need you to promise me something." "What?" "When I'm gone," she said, gripping his hand tightly. "Read the letter I leave behind. Everything will be explained there. You'll understand why I did what I did, and what comes next." Elliot felt a lump in his throat. "Don't talk like that," he whispered. "You're going to be okay." "No," Leila said firmly. "We both know that's not true. Promise me, Elliot. Promise you'll read the letter." Reluctantly, he nodded. "I promise." Over the next few days, Leila's health deteriorated rapidly. She spent most of her time sleeping, waking only briefly to speak to Elliot. Each conversation was shorter than the last, leaving him increasingly anxious. He tried to focus on caring for her, but his mind kept returning to the box and the letter. Finally, one morning, Elliot woke up to find Leila unresponsive. Her chest rose and fell faintly, but her eyes remained closed. Panicked, he called the doctor, who arrived within minutes. After examining her, the doctor shook his head sadly. "I'm sorry, Elliot," he said. "There's nothing more we can do. She's slipping away." Tears streamed down Elliot's face as he sat by Leila's bedside, holding her hand. Hours passed in silence until, finally, her breathing stopped. Leila was gone. For a long time, Elliot sat motionless, overwhelmed by grief. His world felt empty without her. Yet, even in his sorrow, he remembered her final request. Slowly, he rose from the chair and walked to her desk, where the letter lay waiting. The envelope was plain, sealed with wax. On the front, Leila had written, "To Elliot, read this when I'm gone." Taking a deep breath, Elliot broke the seal and unfolded the paper inside. As he began to read, his hands trembled. Elliot held the letter in trembling hands, his heart pounding as he began to read. The words were written in Leela's neat handwriting, each sentence filled with care and precision. As he scanned the pages, the truth unfolded before him, a revelation that shook him to his core. My dearest Eliot, if you're reading this, it means I am no longer with you in body. I wish I could be there to explain everything myself, but some things are better said in writing. Please forgive me for keeping so many secrets from you all these years. It wasn't because I didn't trust you. It was because I loved you too much to burden you with the weight of my choices. First, let me tell you the truth about my illness. What the doctors called a mystery wasn't an illness at all. My body was failing, yes, but not because of disease. It was because I made it fail. Years ago, I transferred my consciousness into a digital network, a place where minds can exist without physical limitations. My body became nothing more than a shell, kept alive by machines and your loving care. You might wonder why I did this. The answer is simple. I wanted to finish my work. Project Eternity wasn't just a dream. It was a reality I had already achieved. By uploading my mind, I ensured that my research would continue uninterrupted. But I couldn't reveal this to anyone, not even you, because the world isn't ready for such knowledge. Immortality comes with risks, dangers I feared humanity might not handle wisely. For 50 years, you took care of me, believing I was dying. In truth, I was closer to life than ever before. Every moment we shared was real. Every word I spoke came from my heart. Even though my body was weak, my love for you never faded. You gave me the strength to keep going, to believe in the future I was building, not just for us, but for everyone. Now the decision rests with you. Inside the box, you'll find everything you need to access my digital consciousness. You'll also find instructions on how to share Project Eternity with the world, or destroy it forever. I leave this choice in your hands because I trust you more than anyone else. If you choose to release my invention, humanity will take its first step toward immortality. People will live without pain, without fear of death. But beware. Power like this can corrupt. Greedy leaders may misuse it, and chaos could follow. On the other hand, if you destroy the technology, you'll protect the world from potential harm, but you'll also erase the chance for a brighter future. I know this is a heavy burden to place on your shoulders, but I have faith in your wisdom. Whatever you decide, please remember this. I did what I did out of love, for you, for humanity, and for the hope of a better tomorrow. With all my heart, Lila. Eliot lowered the letter, his mind reeling. He felt numb, as though the ground beneath him had shifted. Was this real? Had Leela truly uploaded her mind into a computer? And if so, what did that mean for their life together? For 50 years, he had believed he was caring for a dying woman. Now, he realized she had been living in secret, hiding her true self from him. Anger bubbled inside him. How could she do this? How could she lie to him for so long? Didn't she think he deserved to know the truth? Yet, alongside the anger was sadness, a deep ache in his chest. Despite everything, he still loved her. Her letter proved that her actions weren't selfish. They were driven by a desire to help others. But at what cost? Eliot returned to the study, where the metal box sat open on the desk. Among the gadgets and papers, he found a small device labeled Access Terminal. Following the instructions in the journal, he connected the terminal to his computer. A screen flickered to life, displaying a single message. Welcome, Eliot. Would you like to speak with Leela? His hand hovered over the keyboard, unsure whether to proceed. Part of him wanted answers, to confront Lila and demand explanations. Another part feared what he might discover. Finally, he typed yes and pressed enter. The screen changed, showing a holographic image of Leela. She looked younger, healthier, her eyes bright with energy. Hello, Eliot, she said, her voice calm and familiar. Thank you for accessing this program. Eliot stared at the image, his throat tight. Is this really you? He asked aloud, though he knew the projection couldn't hear him. I imagine you have many questions, The digital Leela continued. Please feel free to ask anything. I'll do my best to explain. Elliot hesitated, then typed, Why didn't you tell me the truth? The response appeared instantly. I wanted to, but I couldn't risk exposing the project. If others learned about Project Eternity, they might try to stop me, or worse, use it for harm. Keeping it hidden was the only way to ensure its success. He typed again, Did you ever love me? Or was our marriage just part of your plan? This time, the reply took longer to appear. When it did, the words struck him deeply. I love you with all my heart, Elliot. Our marriage was never a plan. It was a gift. You gave me strength when I needed it most. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish any of this. Tears blurred Elliot's vision. He wiped them away angrily, torn between disbelief and acceptance. Slowly, he began piecing together the fragments of their life together. The late-night conversations, the laughter, the quiet moments of connection. Could those memories coexist with the deception? Or had everything been a lie? Over the next few days, Elliot spent hours talking to the digital Leela, asking questions and listening to her explanations. Through their exchanges, he learned more about Project Eternity and the ethical dilemmas it posed. Leela argued passionately for its benefits, describing a world free from suffering. Yet she also acknowledged the risks, admitting that humanity might not be ready for such power. As Elliot grappled with the decision ahead, news of Leela's death spread beyond their small town. Journalists arrived, eager to write about the brilliant scientist who had once worked on groundbreaking projects. Some mentioned rumors of her involvement in secret government experiments. Others speculated about unfinished inventions that could change the world. One evening, as Elliot sat alone in the study, there was a knock at the door. Opening it, he found two men in suits standing outside. They introduced themselves as agents from a private corporation specializing in advanced technology. We understand your wife was working on something extraordinary, one of them said smoothly. We'd like to discuss acquiring her research. Elliot's stomach churned. He knew they weren't interested in helping humanity. They wanted control. Politely but firmly, he refused to cooperate. After they left, he locked the doors and windows, feeling a growing sense of danger. If powerful groups were already searching for Lila's secrets, how long could he keep them safe? That night, Elliot lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He thought about Lila's final request and the enormous responsibility she had placed on him. Should he share her invention with the world, risking chaos and exploitation? Or should he destroy it, preserving the natural order of life and death? No matter what he chose, one thing was certain: his life, and perhaps the fate of humanity, would never be the same. Elliot woke up early the next morning, his mind racing. He had barely slept, haunted by the weight of Leela's secret, and the decision she left in his hands. Outside, the sun rose over the quiet town, casting golden light through the windows. But inside the house, the air felt heavy, suffocating. He walked to the study and stared at the metal box on the desk. Its contents were both a gift and a curse. The key to immortality, but also a potential weapon that could destroy the world. Every time he thought about sharing Project Eternity, fear gripped him. Who would control it? What would happen if greedy people got hold of it? And yet, destroying it felt like betraying everything Leela had worked for. The knock on the door startled him. It was another visitor, this time a journalist. She introduced herself as Rachel, holding out a business card. I'm writing an article about your wife, she said. Her work was groundbreaking. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Elliot shook his head firmly. I don't have anything to say, he replied, closing the door before she could protest. He didn't trust anyone. Not reporters, not strangers. Not after the men in suits showed up last night. But the visitors kept coming. Some claimed to be researchers eager to learn about Lila's discoveries. Others hinted at connections to powerful organizations. Each one made Elliot more anxious. He knew they weren't interested in helping humanity. They wanted power. If they found out about Project Eternity, they wouldn't hesitate to take it by force. That evening, Eliot packed a bag and left the house under the cover of darkness. He drove to a secluded cabin deep in the woods, far from prying eyes. The place belonged to an old friend who rarely used it, and Eliot hoped it would give him the peace he needed to think clearly. Inside the cabin, he set up his laptop and connected the device labeled Access Terminal. Once again, the holographic image of Leela appeared, her voice calm and steady. "Hello, Eliot," she said. "How can I assist you?" Eliot hesitated, then typed, "Why did you leave this decision to me? Why not finish it yourself?" The response came quickly. "Because you're the only person I trust completely. You've always been my anchor, my guide. I knew you'd make the right choice, no matter how difficult it is." Her words brought tears to his eyes. Despite everything, Layla still believed in him. But how could he possibly make the right choice when both options felt wrong? Over the next few days, Eliot spent hours talking to the digital Leela, trying to understand her perspective. Through their conversations, he learned more about her motivations. She explained that her goal wasn't just to extend life, it was to eliminate suffering altogether. "Imagine a world without pain," she said. "A world where no one has to lose someone they love." "But what about balance?" Eliot asked aloud, though he knew the program couldn't hear him. "Death gives meaning to life. Without it, what happens to humanity?" Leela's responses were thoughtful but firm. "Balance can exist in new ways," she argued. "Immortality doesn't mean we stop growing or changing. It means we evolve beyond our limitations." Still, Eliot couldn't shake the feeling that something so powerful shouldn't exist. Humanity wasn't perfect. It was flawed, selfish, and often cruel. Giving people the ability to live forever might lead to chaos, inequality, and even war. One afternoon, as Eliot sat by the window, staring at the trees swaying in the wind, he remembered happier times with Leela. They had dreamed of traveling the world together, seeing the stars, building a future full of possibilities. Those dreams had faded long ago, replaced by quiet routines and endless waiting. Now he wondered if those dreams could still come true, in a different way. "What if I joined you?" he whispered to himself. "Would that be possible?" Curious, he typed the question into the terminal. The hologram smiled gently. "It's possible, yes. But it's your choice, Eliot. I won't ask you to do anything you don't want to." For the first time, the idea of immortality didn't seem so frightening. If he uploaded his consciousness, he could reunite with Leela in the digital realm. They could explore eternity together, free from pain and loss. But what about the rest of the world? Could he abandon humanity to its fate? As Eliot wrestled with these thoughts, danger closed in. Late one night, headlights appeared in the distance, illuminating the dark forest. Eliot peered through the curtains, his heart pounding. A black car pulled up to the cabin, and several men stepped out, their faces obscured by shadows. Eliot grabbed the metal box and hid it in a hollow tree outside. Then he turned off the lights and waited, his breath shallow. The men knocked on the door, demanding entry. When Eliot didn't answer, they forced their way inside. "Where is it?" one of them growled, scanning the room. "We know you have it." "I don't know what you're talking about," Eliot lied, his voice trembling. The leader sneered. "Don't play dumb. Your wife's research is worth billions. Hand it over, or we'll take it by force." Eliot clenched his fists, standing his ground. "You'll never find it." The men searched the cabin thoroughly but found nothing. Frustrated, they left with threats hanging in the air. "This isn't over," the leader warned. "We'll be watching." When they were gone, Eliot exhaled sharply, his body shaking with relief. He retrieved the box from the tree and returned to the safety of the cabin. That close call convinced him of one thing. He couldn't stay here. He needed to act quickly before someone else found him. The next morning, Eliot made his decision. Sitting at the desk, he opened the journal and read through Layla's notes one last time. Her passion and dedication shone through every page. reminding him why she had sacrificed so much. Finally, he typed a message to the hologram. "I've decided," he wrote. "Tell me what to do." The hologram responded immediately. "Whatever you choose, I support you. Just remember, this technology can change the world, for better or worse. Make sure it's used wisely." With a deep breath, Elliot began following the instructions in the journal. First, he uploaded the data onto a secure server, ensuring it couldn't be traced back to him. Then he created 2 copies, one to release to the public and another to keep hidden as a backup. As he worked, memories flooded his mind. Lila laughing in the sunlight, her eyes lighting up as she talked about her ideas, her hand gripping his during their darkest moments. No matter what happened next, he knew she had done everything out of love, for him, for humanity, for the hope of a brighter future. By the time he finished, dawn was breaking. Exhausted but resolute, Elliot packed his belongings and prepared to leave the cabin. Before stepping outside, he paused to look at the metal box one last time. Then he closed it tightly and carried it with him, ready to face whatever came next. Elliot drove for hours, leaving the cabin behind as dawn painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. The metal box sat on the passenger seat beside him, a constant reminder of the weight he carried. His mind was made up, but doubt lingered like a shadow. Had he chosen correctly? Would Lila approve? He arrived at a remote hilltop overlooking the ocean, a place they had once visited together many years ago. It was quiet here, untouched by the chaos of the world below. Standing on the edge of the cliff, Elliot took a deep breath, letting the salty breeze wash over him. He remembered how happy Layla had been that day, how she had spread her arms wide, laughing as though she could fly. "This is where it ends," he whispered to himself. Opening the metal box, he carefully removed the flash drive containing Layla's research. For a moment, he hesitated, staring at the small device in his hand. Inside it lay the power to change everything, for better or worse. Then, with deliberate movements, he inserted the flash drive into his laptop and began uploading the data to an anonymous server. Once the upload was complete, he destroyed the original copy, smashing the drive until it was nothing more than shards of plastic and metal. The first step was done. Now came the hardest part. Elliot opened the terminal again, accessing the program that housed Layla's digital consciousness. Her holographic image appeared, serene and patient as always. "Are you sure about this?" she asked softly. "I'm not sure about anything," Elliot admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "But I have to trust you. Trust us." Leela smiled. "You've always been stronger than you think, Elliot. Whatever happens next, know that I'm proud of you." Tears blurred his vision as he typed one final command. With a single keystroke, he released Project Eternity to the world. The information would spread across the internet, reaching anyone who sought it. Humanity now held the key to immortality, but whether they used it wisely remained to be seen. As the program completed its task, Elliot closed the laptop and stood silently, watching the waves crash against the rocks below. He felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. Relief because he had honored Lila's wishes, and sorrow because he knew the world would never be the same. For days, news outlets buzzed with reports of the mysterious discovery. Scientists debated its implications, politicians argued over regulations, and ordinary people dreamed of a future without death. Some hailed it as a miracle, others condemned it as dangerous. Riots broke out in cities, while underground groups fought to control the technology. Chaos reigned, but so did hope. Back at the hilltop, Elliot disconnected from the world. He turned off his phone, ignoring the endless calls and messages. Instead, he spent his time reflecting on the life he had shared with Layla. Their love had been real, even if their journey had taken unexpected turns. In the end, it wasn't perfection that mattered. It was the connection they had forged, the moments they had cherished. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Elliot returned to the terminal. There was one last thing he needed to do. "Leela," he said aloud. typing slowly. "I want to join you." The hologram blinked, then responded. "Are you certain, Elliot? Once you upload your consciousness, there's no going back." "I'm sure," he replied firmly. "I've lived my life. Now it's time to start a new one. With you." Following the instructions, Elliot connected a neural interface to his laptop. As the program initialized, he felt a tingling sensation spread through his body. Memories flashed before his eyes. His childhood, his marriage to Leela, the sacrifices they had made for each other. Then suddenly, the sensations faded, replaced by an overwhelming sense of clarity. When he opened his eyes, he found himself standing in a vast, glowing expanse. The air shimmered with light, and the ground beneath his feet felt solid yet weightless. Ahead of him stood Leela, not as a hologram, but as herself, vibrant and alive. "You did it," she said, smiling warmly. "Welcome to eternity." Elliot stepped forward, tears streaming down his face. "Is this real?" he asked, reaching out to touch her hand. "As real as anything can be," Leela replied. "We're free now, Elliot. Free to explore, to learn, to grow. Together." They embraced, holding each other tightly. For the first time in years, Elliot felt truly at peace. Here, in this digital realm, there was no pain, no loss, only infinite possibilities. From afar, the world continued to grapple with the consequences of Project Eternity. Some embraced the technology, using it to heal and create. Others rejected it, clinging to the natural cycle of life and death. Conflicts arose, but so did opportunities. Humanity stumbled forward, learning to navigate this new reality. Meanwhile, Elliot and Leela explored the boundless universe within the network. They traveled through simulated galaxies, conversed with artificial intelligences, and rediscovered the joy of discovery. Though separated from the physical world, they remained connected to it in ways they couldn't fully understand. From time to time, they watched as humanity struggled and triumphed, guided by the legacy they had left behind. On clear nights, when stars filled the sky, Elliot would pause to look up. Even in this digital existence, he still felt a connection to the universe outside. Somewhere among those distant lights lay the planet they had called home, the place where their love story had begun. And as he gazed upward, he realized something important. Immortality wasn't just about living forever. It was about carrying love, hope, and purpose into the unknown. Together, he and Leela had given humanity a chance to dream bigger, to reach farther, to imagine a brighter future. In the end, that was enough.